Hey folks, Cornell with YouTube Fishing Vids. As the train blows in the background, I'm actually out here at my local lake, about 6 to 8 minutes from my house, and I've got a closed lake to boating. The only opportunities out here from now on until this lake's probably frozen is to do some shoreline fishing. So I'm below the bridge, I'm below the Clarksburg bridge here, out in an area where I've done pretty well catching some crappie, and I've hooked up plenty of bass over here in my time. But it's cold, folks. I've got a breeze, I've got 45-degree air temperatures, and this water is no more than probably in the low 40s. Partly cloudy skies, I've got a little glimmer of sun shining through those clouds, and it is officially the first day of winter. So I'm out here on the first day of winter, ready to break open the mystery tackle box for the month of December. So I got the standard mystery tackle box. I'll be honest with you, I did break it open. I wanted to see what I was dealing with since the conditions in this area in the Mid-Atlantic are going to be brutal. The boating opportunities are nil to none. Shoreline fishing, some of my only opportunities, and there's ponds and there's little lakes in the area that already have skim ice, if not a solid layer of ice on them. So I knew this lake would be wide open. I knew under the bridge would be some of my deepest water. So here goes the unboxing of the mystery tackle box for the month of December. And like I said, I took a peek, guys. I know what I'm dealing with, and I brought the proper equipment to manage it, because here comes the Johnson Slam spoon. It's a gold flutter spoon, guys, 1 ounce. And a flutter spoon in the wintertime can be incredible. If you get into the deeper water and those fish are suspended, and you do a little yo-yo effect, and you do a little standard retrieve and little pause and drop, you're going to really get some attention for some hopefully active winter bass. And if they're not active, this can be the reaction bite that you can get. So I'm going to rig up a slam spoon. That's going to be one of the first baits out of Mystery Tackle Box, standard box for the month of December. Next hard bait coming out of the box is a Yo-Zuri 3DS Shad SR65 SP, an itty-bitty little finesse jerkbait in a great color. Guys, again, cloudy skies, partly sunny. These are great colors. There's perch in this lake. The bass love to eat those perch. That little kind of bronzy gold color with a black back can be an absolutely awesome option. It looks like it's got an orange belly also, so that orange belly is going to really resemble some of the yellow perch in here these bass love to eat. So I got the perfect setup, got the perfect rig to work a little jerkbait out in this clear, cold, pressured water in this lake of mine. So we'll see how that goes. I got 2 soft plastic bags and 1 terminal tackle option. So I got a Mustad 1/4 ounce swim bait jig head. So I got a 1/4 ounce swim bait jig head. And if you remember my last video, I was working at Mountain Lake up here in Maryland, about 40 minutes from my house, with that Finesse swim bait idea. I had a 1/4 ounce to a 1 ounce ball head jig on that Kitech 3.8 swim bait. And I whacked a couple right off the shoreline until I got kicked out of there after they're doing some maintenance near the dam. So with that little 1/4 ounce Mustad jig head, I've got the perfect opportunity to pair it up with the Charlie's worm. I got a Charlie's worm watermelon red fleck 4-inch swim bait. So that's absolutely perfect. Finesse swim baiting in the wintertime is one of the absolute best options you can go with. So right out here in this clear water, hopefully that little Finesse swim bait option can work for me, maybe as good as it did in that mountain lake in the last video, along with big bite baits, what looks like a 4-inch curly-tailed grub in smoke with red and black fleck. So that is another killer option in the wintertime, guys. If you're not throwing a swim bait, you need to be throwing a grub. And with that 1/4 ounce Mustad jig head, that could be a great option. But again, a 1/4 ounce jig head may force me to fish a little too fast. May have to drop it down to an 1/8 ounce, but we'll see what we can do with a 4-inch. Yeah, I guess it's about a 4.3, maybe 3-inch curly tail grub by Big Bite Bait. So killer standard mystery tackle box for the month of December for cold water, clear water. It's absolutely perfect for what I need to try to do today, and that's to try to catch some fish. You know how it goes, guys. If I don't catch any fish, I'm showing you how to rig it. I'm showing you how to fish it. At the least, we're going to learn something. So a little bit more than just an unboxing. I'm out here in a beautiful, beautiful cold winter, full effect first day of winter day to do a little bit of fishing. So guys, hang tight. Let's rig up, see what we can do. Okay, folks, I'm reaching for the Slam spoon. I got the Slam spoon here in my hand. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. So with the Slam spoon, it's a 1 ounce flutter spoon. Like I said, I decided to grab my Zodius 7'2" medium heavy. This rod is rated up to 1 ounce, so it's absolutely the perfect combination for the flutter spoon, with a Team Lose Pro Z reel and a high-speed reel with 15-pound test fluorocarbon. So I'm going to go ahead and rig this up. We're going to cast that out there and play off the drops and see if we can get anything to react to a flutter spoon. I'll show you how we get those retrieves going. Really important whenever I break out a new bait, especially a type of bait that's going to possibly get a reaction bite, especially on the fall, I definitely check out the hooks. I didn't have the opportunity to bring any upgraded hooks, but it looks like from what I'm dealing with, I've got some really sharp hooks. So I always basically take that hook and I just dig it into my fingernail. If I get it to stick we're in good shape. If not, I could have easily sharpened it if I need to, but those sharps are actually really sharp. Those hooks are really sharp, real sticky, real tacky. So it comes with an actual swivel. So that bait's actually hooked up with a, it's got its O-ring and then it's got its swivel, so we're dealing with no line twists there. So just a polymer knot, guys. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to do a standard polymer knot to that swivel, and we're going to be good to go. All right, folks, we are tied on. We got a flutter spoon ready to go. So let's see how this goes. This is going to be very, very interesting. I can't say that I've ever fished a flutter spoon, maybe once or twice out here in my local lake. It's a really different type of technique. It's definitely one of those big fish baits that can really get them. It'll catch a small fish too, but I'm going to launch this thing. I know I'll be able to cast it a country mile, which is a huge deal when you're fishing from the shoreline, especially when you're trying to get out to some of those deeper fish. So I'm going to be throwing it out into about 30 plus feet of water, and I'm going to give it a countdown. I'm going to count down to at least 15, maybe even 20, and just give it a good hop and see how it goes. So let's see what's going on here and some cold water fishing in my local lake. Okay, folks, with limited time, I've given that flutter spoon plenty of time, in my opinion. A lot of different casts, a lot of different retrieves. I didn't want to bore you with all the efforts with no fish catches. So basically I was casting out there, I was letting it sink 10, 20, up to 30 feet and all the way to the bottom. And I was just doing slow retrieves and pauses, letting it flutter down. I was actually yo-yoing it, letting it flutter, letting it pause, letting it get in front of some of those fish that might be out there waiting to eat, and if they just didn't want it. So that wasn't the bait right now, obviously, but worth a try. Always great to have something different and a great option out of the mystery tackle box. But we're gonna go and break open the Yozuri. It's time to break open this awesome little jerk bait. I'm gonna throw this on my spinning rod. I've got a 7'1", my Legend Tournament spinning rod right here, guys. So I'm gonna break this open, rig it up, and get that going out there, see if I can get some of those suspended bass. So hang tight. Beautifully packaged little bait. I know these hooks are sharp. I actually know these baits, so these are really, really good hooks. Little zip tie. Let's break her open. All right, check that out. Absolutely beautiful little bait. All right, so let's see what we can do here. I'm going to tie this up, guys. I'm going to hook this up. Like I said, this is my Legend Tournament 7'2" medium action rod. This happens to be, let's see what action this is. I always forget some of this stuff. It's a medium power fast action. Okay, so 7'1". That's on my Shimano Stratic CI4, and that is a 2500 series CI4. All right, that's 12-pound test Sunline SX1 braid with an Albright knot attached to 10-pound test fluorocarbon. That's just some classic Seagar Invesex fluorocarbon. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this on with a polymer knot, and I'm going to throw that out there and do a couple twitch, and pauses and see what we come up with. Now, one of the best reasons I can explain as to why I've got pretty much a full spool of braid on here with this spinning tackle and this little Finesse jerkbait, it's casting distance and it's that low stretch. So basically with 12-pound test, which is equivalent of like barely 2-3 pound test diameter mono equivalent, that 12-pound test braid is going to cast this little jerkbait with this weight transfer system a country mile. When you're on the shoreline, distance is everything. If you want to get out to some of those deeper fish that are suspended out there, that little jerkbait is going to cast a country mile with a 7'1" medium action rod. And then of course you're dealing with a fluorocarbon leader, which sinks and also is virtually invisible, and that's going to give you that invisibility in this clear water. So it's a perfect combination for a little Finesse jerkbait. So let's cast it out there and see how we do. Little itty bitty Finesse jerkbait like this, there's two perfect retrieves. Basically, the one retrieve that's very much like a shad wrap retrieve is just to basically cast it out and just do a slow, steady retrieve with a pause. I mean, real slow, guys. This has got a real super tight little wiggle. You can just do that ultra slow little retrieve and a pause. a ultra slow retrieve and a pause, and that'll sometimes get it whacked. Now it's suspending, so when you hit that pause button, it's gonna really put it in front of their nose. Again, this is pretty deep water. It's a pretty shallow diving little finesse jerkbait, so I think the twitch pause is probably one of the better options. So that's a long pause too. This colder water, I'm pausing anywhere from 3 to 8 seconds. Twitch, pause, just count it down. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. It's gonna be a long wait, but I'm telling you, once you hit that right pause number and you count it down to the right number and you get whacked, you'll understand what those fish want. So anywhere from 3 to 5 to 8 up to 10 seconds on those pauses on those little jerk baits will get it done. Let's see if one of them actually decides to bite. Okay, I've given that Finesse jerkbait a run for its money. It's a beautiful little bait, absolutely gorgeous. It's a tough situation out here, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting real finessey with those soft plastics. I'm gonna cut off this jerkbait. I'm gonna start playing with that little Finesse swim bait and throwing those grubs out through hopefully what are some cold fish out here. So hang tight, let's re-rig, and let's use the exact same rod, reel, line, leader setup, and we'll just tie on one of those Mustad 1/4 ounce jig heads, and I'm gonna start with the swim bait. Let's go ahead and see how that rigs up and how that does. All right, I'm gonna break open the 1/4 ounce jig heads. I'm gonna tie that on, same deal. 12-pound test braid with a 10-pound test fluorocarbon leader. I'm gonna tie that on there. I'm gonna rig up that Charlie's Worm swim bait. All right, that's what's gonna get rigged up. There she is. All right, we got a perfect little 1/4 ounce Charlie's Worm rigged up with that little Mustad swim bait jig head, guys. Okay, so we're gonna throw it out there on the spinning tackle. We're gonna see what we can do about letting it drop down. I'm gonna start off a little countdown. I'm gonna count down, 10, 12, 15, and just do a slow retrieve with a pause and see if we can get anything. All right, guys, this wind is really hustling. So as hard as this wind's blowing and as deep as this water is, this 1/4 ounce Mustad swim bait jig heads is as light as I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna drop down to an 1/8 ounce. I need the casting distance. I need the depth I'm getting out of this swim bait to get down to where I know those fish probably are. I'm able to cast this thing a country mile. So that's way out there, almost all the way to the bridge piling. So I'm gonna let it sink, anywhere up to 20 seconds to get that as deep as I can and slowly crawl it back to me. It's brutal out here, guys. This wind is really hustling and the bite is definitely tough. So I'm just glad to be fishing. But let's just see if we can pick one up before it's all over. The next bait coming out of that mystery tackle box is going to be that grub. I'm going to throw it on the same jig head and see if they want that little twisty tail action. All right, guys, tough. It is rough out here. Okay, so I'm going to break off this, or pull off this swim bait. I'm going to reach in there. I'm going to grab that little curly tail grub. At the least there's some crappie over there. I know there's some crappie underneath that bridge, so maybe I can pop one of those in my last ditch effort here. But let me break out this Big Bite Baits curly tail grub in that smoke color with those red and black flecks in there. So let me break out one of these guys. Oh, wait a minute. That's interesting. Didn't even know it. It's a twin tail grub, guys. Check it out. So I got a twin tail grub. That's going to be interesting. So instead of a single tail grub, I've got twin tails. So I got 2 kickers. That'd be a great trailer on a lot of different type of finesse jigs and things like that. But on a single jig head like this could be really interesting. Real finessey twin tail grub. So I'm going to go ahead and feed that on there. That's just long enough for me to barely make it to the tail. Let's see what we got here. I'll break that open right there. Right over the head. Perfect. Check that out. All right. Yeah, if that's not a perfect imitation of the little bait fish, those twin tail kickers, that's a cool looking little idea. Okay, so there we go, guys. We got the Ultra Finesse twin tail grub on a 1/4 ounce jig head. My last ditch effort for my shoreline under the bridge first day of winter fishing out of the mystery tackle box. I appreciate you hanging in there. Let's see if we can pop one with this, and if not, at least we showed you a few ideas as to how to rig them and what to do with them. So here we go. All right, folks, before my hands fall off here, I'm going to call it. It's one of those kind of situations where I think it's just a little more entertaining for not just you, but for me also to get out here and break open that mystery tackle box and do an unboxing and at least throw a couple of the baits in the water. Even though it's freezing cold, it's windy, it's shoreline, it's still worth getting out, and it always is, guys. There's a lot of changes coming up with the season, folks. I've got a little traveling coming up here shortly, so you guys just stay tuned. There's a lot more fishing to come. It may not be a lot of local stuff. There may be a lot of tips and tricks and different things going on while I'm here here local in the mid-Atlantic area of Maryland, but I might be heading south, so just stay tuned. We'll see if we can come up with some videos for you guys and entertain you throughout the season. So as always, guys, I appreciate you joining me. As always, I appreciate you subscribing, and until we meet again, over and out.